don't know if you were aware of this or not, but there are some pretty scary things happening in this building, the State House in Concord, New Hampshire. Fortunately, there is the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance. They're fighting back, but they need your help. They offer free training. They offer courses, ways that you can learn how to be most effective in fighting for liberty inside the State House. Visit nhliberty.org to find out when the next class is. If you take it, you'll be a much more effective voice at stopping these folks from taking away your liberty. nhliberty.org. Dave Ridley here, signing in for RidleyReport.com with a general update on New Hampshire Liberty News for this January 13th, 2008. No recount. That's the word from presidential candidate Ron Paul. There were widespread rumors of voter fraud in New Hampshire during the January 8th primary. Dr. Paul says, quote, on January 12th he says, "After careful investigation, I have decided against seeking a recount in New Hampshire. I am confident that not asking for a recount is the right decision." He says, quote, "I am convinced that vote fraud played no role in this result. Rumors of vote fraud were investigated," he says, "and in the end, they proved to be the result of errors in early media reports that were not reflected in the official numbers." Dr. Paul says the resources that would be spent on a recount would be better spent in the election campaign. Dr. Paul, of course, still has a huge war chest, and his campaign is in good financial shape, which sets him apart from the other Republican candidates. However, his vote total of 8% in New Hampshire was less than he and others had hoped for. It's nice to note, however, I think there's been so much attention paid to Dr. Paul's numbers, and there's so many people helping him out, keeping an eye on things, I think most people would be very reluctant to commit vote fraud against Dr. Paul. In one case, a city worker apparently lost some of Dr. Paul's votes, or there was some 31 votes missing or something like that, and I guess her life has just been a miserable since then. Her phone has been ringing off the hook. That's some lady in Sutton, I think. In other news, the New Hampshire State House session is back in full swing. And so I'd like to draw your attention to some hearings that are going to happen on January 15th, Tuesday. You'll be able to find more details about these hearings if you head to the calendar at generalcourt.org. As usual, there are a lot of coercive, commerce-killing bills that will be heard. But I'm happy to report there are some cost-saving attempts as well. At 10 o'clock a.m. on Tuesday, there'll be a hearing for House Bill 1622. Looks like it could be a good thing. It allows counties to set up first-time offender programs for alcohol and substance abuse. Although it does appropriate some funds, the bill's fiscal impact statement claims that the bill will reduce state expenditures and revenue and county revenue by an indeterminable amount for each year that the program is in effect. So it might be a bill worth supporting, but I would check with the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance over at nhliberty.org to be sure. Unfortunately, it's fairly rare for a bill to have a fiscal impact statement that indicates it will reduce expenditures. That's a breath of fresh air to at least see they're trying to bring costs down, I hope. By the way, it's possible to get confused about where these are being held. Most of these hearings occur in what's called the Legislative Office Building, which is just it's just west of the State House in Concord. If you go to generalcourt.org, you can see the room number, and it'll say LOB to indicate Legislative Office Building. If it says SH, that means it's in the State House. nhliberty.org. You can't miss the State House if you drive into Concord. It's visible from the interstate. Anyway, here's a nasty bill that's up for hearing. House Bill 1579. This legislation, House Bill 1579, says, quote, no person shall construct a structure or sewage disposal system within 75 feet of wetlands. In other words, you can't build a house or a barn or anything near wetlands. Probably without a variance. You could probably get a variance, but you know how difficult that can be. The man we have to blame for this is Representative Day of Rockingham. And that bill happens, the hearing happens at 10:30 a.m. Then there's House Bill 1161, which I call the Imprison More Kids Bill. It reduces to 10 the number of unexcused absences that are required to trigger a habitual truancy charge. And it gives the truant officer now the authority to seize 6-year-olds without a warrant and place them in the government training camp if they are found to be violating the laws related to compulsory attendance in school, which I suppose all 6-year-olds would be if they're not in school and don't have government permission to be doing whatever they're doing by way of alternate schooling. In other words, this could apply to an unauthorized homeschooler. Of course, the way I see it, the more youngsters are forced to be in school, the more trouble there will be in school. And since this bill broadens the definition of truancy to include people who have simply missed 10 or more half days, it will simply force more and more kids into the prison-like government schools against their will and force your well-studied kids to be around them. Notice that this bill does not include a financial impact statement. It strikes me that it would increase expenditures. I'm sorry to report that Representative Day is making yet another appearance on yet another authoritarian bill. He's one of the sponsors on this bill. Since Day is not yet having New Hampshire Liberty Alliance rating, we have this kind of stuff to go on in terms of determining his liberty status. Here's another bill that looks like a little good will come of it. House Bill 1561, establishing an Energy Conservation and Efficiency Board. Just what New Hampshire needs, another government board. Again, as with so many bills, we have a lamentable situation where you go to the bottom and there is no fiscal impact statement. That hearing starts up at 10:45 in the Legislative Office Building. Anyway, there are a heck of a lot of bills coming up on the 15th, and I have not mentioned all of the ones that you might want to attend. It looks like there's about 100 that will be heard Tuesday, January 15th. So head over to generalcourt.org here and take a look at the calendar. You may see some bills that you're interested in testifying on. Testifying at the State House is not rocket science. I've found that I can just pretty much walk into the Capitol building and usually in a given day find 2 or 3 bills that I really want to talk about. A lot of people will go in as experts and give a lot of, expert type testimony, but I tend to just go in and try to provide a punctuation mark. I'll make, like a 1 minute or 1.5 minute statement, or I'll ask questions, but just to provide some simplicity to the issue. I try to summarize what the bill really means to me in terms of the liberty it takes away from people, or the excessive cost. I don't spend a lot of time preparing or anything like that. However, I think it's great, people who do. Like I said, I'm saying it is possible to go in and testify on a bill without doing much preparation. Especially if you're testifying against something. I think it's much easier to speak out against something than to speak out in favor of it from a pro-liberty standpoint. Most bills, as written in New Hampshire, are fairly easy to understand, and in fact there's a law that says they have to be understandable by the layman. Please head over to generalcourt.org for more information on these bills. This is Dave Ridley signing off for RidleyReport.com. NHLiberty.org